I had been hiding deep in the mountains for 500 years, and after all that time, I finally reached the peak of the Saint Realm. Feeling proud of my achievement, I walked out of the valley for the first time, only to run straight into a 10,000-year-old demon lord. As the two strongest beings of our era, we fought a battle that shook the heavens and darkened the sky. But when the fight was over, the demon lord rushed back to his lair and went into seclusion overnight, while I stood there holding my broken sword and shaking with fear. At that moment, I seriously started wondering if the system bound to me came from some low-level world. Otherwise, how could it explain the fact that after cultivating for 500 years, I still couldn't even beat a little white snake? After figuring out the problem, I decided to completely give up on cultivation and just enjoy a lazy life. One day, while taking my usual walk through the valley, I found an abandoned baby girl. Out of curiosity, I checked her condition with my spiritual sense and my eyes widened in shock. There wasn't a single drop of blood left inside her body, yet somehow she was still alive. As I looked at this tiny miracle, I couldn't help thinking about raising her myself. After a moment of thought, I condensed a drop of blood containing ancient scriptures from my own essence. As the final blood rune entered the baby's chest, the 7 stars of the Big Dipper lit up in the sky at the same time. Watching the colors slowly return to her face, I smiled and said, "From now on, your name is Chen Xingkai." Before I knew it, 6 years had passed. The baby I had rescued had grown into a cute little girl. Even though I considered myself a useless father, I still wanted my daughter to have a bright future. So when she turned 5, I started teaching her cultivation. Right now, Xingkai was sitting cross-legged on the ground while mysterious light flowed around her body. It was obvious that her understanding of cultivation had already reached an incredible level. In any sect outside, she would have been treated like a priceless treasure. Unfortunately, her father was someone who spent every day relaxing and doing nothing. Because of that, I had no idea just how terrifying her talent really was. As evening arrived, Xingkai suddenly jumped to her feet and shouted excitedly, "Daddy, I can feel my cultivation bottleneck. I think I'll break through to the Tongshuan realm very soon." I smiled and said, "My Xingkai is amazing. How about Daddy makes crispy mushroom snacks for you tonight as a reward?" Her eyes sparkled instantly. Yes, I love Daddy the most." She happily skipped back toward our wooden cabin. Watching her cheerful little figure disappear into the distance, I felt completely healed inside. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountain, a badly injured gray bear was running for its life. It was so exhausted that it collapsed unconscious at the foot of the mountain. After an unknown amount of time, the bear finally woke up. The first thing it saw was a human little girl staring at it with curiosity. Instantly, it became cautious and hostile. Even though she was only a child, she had already reached the Tongshan realm. If she survived and continued growing, the human race would likely gain another Saint Venerable in the future. Thinking about the spiritual herb it had spent 300 years raising, only for humans to steal it, anger filled its heart. Humans stole my precious herb. If I kill one of their future Saint Venerables, I'll still come out ahead. With that thought, the gray bear began gathering the last bit of power left in its body. But before it could do anything, Xingkai suddenly called out in her soft voice, "Daddy, come quickly, this bear seems to be awake." Then she added, "And if there's an adult nearby, kill that one too." The moment the gray bear released even a tiny bit of killing intent, it felt an overwhelming pressure descend on it. Its body started shaking uncontrollably. As for me, I didn't dare be careless. The trauma left behind by that little white snake years ago was still fresh in my memory, so I carefully checked the bear with my spiritual sense. Sure enough, it was pitifully weak and badly injured. In fact, it was only slightly stronger than my daughter. Seeing that, I finally relaxed. I walked over and casually kicked the bear in the butt. The gray bear had just been about to beg for mercy when Xingkai asked curiously, "Daddy, is this a normal bear or one of those demon beasts?" Hearing that question, the gray bear immediately rolled onto its back, showed its belly, and put on the dumbest innocent face it could manage. I gently rubbed Shinkai's head and said, "If it's a demon beast, Daddy will have to get rid of it, but judging by its behavior, it looks like an ordinary gray bear. I'll place a restriction on it and let you keep it as a pet." Xingkai instantly became excited. "Really? Does that mean I'll have a friend to play with? Thank you, Daddy." Meanwhile, the gray bear was secretly praising itself for being so smart. The next second, it rubbed its fluffy head against Shinkai's hand. I condensed a strand of golden energy and pointed it at the bear's forehead. At the same time, the bear felt its old injuries healing rapidly. I explained, "I've placed a restriction inside its body. If it ever thinks about hurting you, it'll suffer unbearable pain." Xingkai clapped happily. "That's awesome, little gray. Come on, I'll show you the fruit trees I planted." The gray bear didn't dare refuse and could only follow the little girl deeper into the forest. As they walked, a bold idea suddenly appeared in its mind. If it could somehow control this human child, wouldn't it be able to indirectly control that terrifying Saint Venerable too? The bear was happily planning when it suddenly noticed Shinkai stop walking. It almost crashed into her. Instantly, panic filled its heart. What is this little girl doing? If I accidentally bump into her, 10 lives won't be enough to pay for the consequences. The moment a trace of anger toward Shinkai appeared in its mind, its heart suddenly began pounding wildly as if it were about to explode. The pain was so intense that it collapsed to the ground and started twitching. After what felt like forever, the pain finally faded. The bear was left completely powerless, lying there like a dead dog. Suddenly, Shinkai's small face appeared above it. She smiled mischievously and said, "Daddy's restriction is really strong. Little Gray, you were thinking about killing me earlier, weren't you?" Even though the gray bear was shaking all over, it still forced itself to look innocent and confused. Seeing its funny expression, Shinkai burst out laughing. "Little Gray, if I hadn't interrupted you several times earlier, do you think my dad would have chopped you into pieces?" As she spoke, she gently patted its fluffy head. "I don't know why, but my dad really hates demon beasts." Hearing those words, the gray bear immediately dropped to its knees. Shinkai calmly said, "Get up. I want someone to play with, but I don't like being tricked. Daddy always says that friends should be honest with each other." Then she smiled and added, "But you're not my friend. You're my pet." The gray bear froze on the spot. Shinkai continued, "So I don't have to be honest with you, but you must always be honest with me. Understand?" At that moment, the gray bear finally realized that when it came to intelligence, this little girl completely outclassed it. Every little scheme in its mind instantly disappeared. Now it only wanted to know what kind of environment could create such a scary little monster. It didn't take long to find out, because Shinkai never took it to see any fruit trees at all. Instead, she brought it to a hidden cave. Looking at the dark entrance, the gray bear felt a deep fear coming from its bloodline, even though it couldn't see anything inside. It had to use every bit of willpower just to stop itself from running away. Then Shinkai happily ran to the cave entrance and shouted, "Master Xiaobai! Come look, I got a new pet!" A few moments later, a small white snake slowly crawled out of the cave. It casually glanced at the gray bear with its cold eyes. In that instant, the gray bear was so terrified that it immediately fell to its knees. The little white snake simply looked at it with disgust. We didn't need to worry about that big dumb bear anymore. As Shinkai said that, she pulled out a book with the title, "The Overbearing Saint Venerable Fell in Love with Me," Volume 2 written on the cover. She happily held it up and said, "I've already finished reading this one. I'm here to trade it for Volume 3. The little white snake sounded surprised and replied, "That fast?" Then she gently inhaled, and the second volume instantly flew into her mouth. A moment later, she opened her mouth again, and a third volume dropped directly into Shinkai's hands. Shinkai immediately put the book away and said excitedly, "Thank you, Master Xiaobai." Then a troubled expression appeared on her face as she continued, "Oh, right, Master. For the past 6 months, no matter how many hints I've dropped or how much I've acted cute and cried, Daddy still refuses to tell me who my mother is. What should I do now?" The little white snake calmly replied, "Sooner or later, he'll reveal a flaw." Shinkai nodded obediently and said, "Okay, Master." After achieving her goal, she turned around and prepared to leave. As she watched her disciple walk away, the little white snake suddenly transformed into an incredibly beautiful woman. Her name was Ji Hongli. In truth, after returning to Wind Demon Valley, she had already figured something out. The reason she lost back then definitely wasn't because she had become weaker. It was because I was simply too powerful. That realization had sparked a strong curiosity inside her, so she began secretly observing me. But what she never expected was that I would suddenly have a daughter. Even stranger, she had never seen any sign of a woman around me. That only made her curiosity grow stronger. Eventually, she couldn't resist anymore and approached Shinkai herself. Before long, the two lonely girls, one young and one old, became very close. Ji Hongli not only guided Shinkai in cultivation, but also shared the novels she had collected over the years. During one of their conversations, Ji Hongli casually expressed her curiosity about my possible Dao companion. The 6-year-old Shinkai immediately patted her chest and promised that she would investigate for her. Not long after that, I started noticing that something felt very strange. Whenever I took Shinkai for a walk through the valley and we happened to see two birds sitting together on a branch, she would immediately point at them and say, "Daddy, look! Those two birds look so happy together." Of course, I could tell she was hinting at something. After similar situations happened again and again, I started suspecting that Shinkai was hiding something from me. Worried about my daughter's safety, I secretly decided to investigate. One day, I quietly made my way to the cave that Shinkai visited so often. After carefully hiding my presence, I silently entered the cave. The moment I stepped inside, I saw an unbelievably beautiful woman sleeping on a bed made of ice. The instant I looked at her breathtaking face, cold sweat appeared on my forehead. I didn't even need to think about it. There was absolutely no way she was an ordinary person, but that only made me even more confused. What kind of relationship did this mysterious woman have with my daughter? Filled with questions and unease, I quietly retreated from the cave without making a sound. Last year, I met Master Xiaobai while picking flowers in the valley. Shinkai explained innocently. Master Xiaobai is amazing. She teaches me cultivation and tells me lots of interesting stories too. Hearing that, I frowned slightly and asked, something this important happened and you didn't tell Daddy? Shinkai's face immediately filled with innocence as she replied, Master Xiaobai told me to keep it a secret. I could only let out a helpless sigh. So that mysterious woman was actually my daughter's master. While I was still troubled by everything related to my daughter, a completely different scene was unfolding in the imperial city of Central State. Tens of thousands of cultivators had gathered in front of the Heavenly Monument Pavilion, waiting for the once-in-a-century Heavenly Monument ceremony. The monuments recorded the most outstanding talents of the human race. The Human Monument listed the most promising young geniuses of the new generation. The Earth Monument ranked the strongest cultivators below the Saint Realm, and the Heaven Monument recorded all the Saint Venerables of the current era. As a golden armored guard loudly announced, "Open the monument," dazzling golden words immediately began appearing on the Human Monument. Rank 100, Lu Mingxuan of the Xuantian Sword Sect. Rank 99, Lan Niao of Purple Mist Palace. Rank 98, Kui Niu of Nine Heavens, Thunder Pavilion. One name after another appeared, and the crowd looked on with envy. When the golden name of Princess Jingxiu of the Great Zhou Dynasty appeared in third place, the entire square exploded with shock. Princess Jingxiu is only third? Then just how incredible are the top two? Soon the second place name appeared, Hong Xianglong of the Hong family, Lingzhou. At the same time, the image of a 5-year-old child appeared before everyone. His left eye was a strange insect pupil, while 3 blood-red stars rotated inside his right eye. Someone immediately shouted in shock, "The heaven-piercing saint body!" The headmaster of the Taixuan sect became so excited that he crushed the armrest of his chair. Not only does he possess the heaven-piercing saint body, but it also contains supreme blood. As the Human Monument began tracing the source of his talent, Hong Tianke, the head of the Hong family, suddenly threw out a black curtain to block the vision. What? The Hong family head is trying to interfere with the Human Monument. But in the very next moment, the golden light of the monument effortlessly tore the black curtain apart. The image continued. Everyone saw 2 newborn babies lying side by side. Above the baby girl floated a giant blood pearl that greedily absorbed her blood. As all of her blood was drained away, a crimson blood pearl emerged from inside her body. It was the legendary Supreme Blood. As soon as it appeared, a man grabbed it and forcefully implanted it into the baby boy's body. The entire crowd erupted in anger. What a beast! He drained his own daughter's blood just to improve his son's talent. But then something even more shocking happened. The Human Monument slowly revealed the name of the #1 genius, Hong Yuechan. Yet before everyone's eyes, the name suddenly twisted and changed into a completely different one, Chen Xingkai. The crowd instantly went crazy. It changed. The name actually changed. Everyone knew that the Human Monument originated from the immortal world and automatically traced a person's true origin. If a name changed, it meant that person had completely broken away from their former identity. Combined with the scandal involving Hong Tianke's daughter, the furious Hong family immediately left the square. Only after the golden light of the Human Monument faded did the noisy crowd slowly calm down. Soon, the Earth Monument began revealing its rankings. Rank 79, Ying Juju, leader of the Xuanying sect. Compared to the Human Monument, the rankings on the Earth Monument barely changed. As expected, the #1 position still belonged to Chunfeng of the Great Zhou Dynasty. After the Earth Monument was finished, the grand finale finally arrived, the Heaven Monument. At this moment, everyone in the square held their breath. Golden words slowly appeared. Rank 12, Saint Lord Chu Huaizhou of Yunfu. The entire square immediately exploded into discussion. Chu Huaizhou was the only person in nearly 3,000 years to reach the Saint Realm. Being ranked last wasn't surprising by itself. The problem was that he had been ranked 11th during the previous ceremony. A terrifying thought began forming in everyone's minds. As familiar names continued appearing one after another, the atmosphere became heavier and heavier. Then, when the second place ranking was finally revealed, the entire square fell into complete silence. Nobody dared speak, yet the flowing golden light still hadn't stopped. Finally, the last line of ancient golden text appeared. Rank 1, Chen Chengen. At the exact same moment, back in the valley, Shinkai's clear voice suddenly interrupted my thoughts. Daddy, what are you thinking about? You've been distracted ever since you started cooking. I looked at her and asked, Daddy wants to ask you something. That Master Xiaobai you mentioned, does she like anything in particular? The moment Shinkai heard that, her eyes lit up with excitement. Daddy, so you've been thinking about Master Xiaobai? I rubbed her little head and replied, Of course. She's your cultivation master. As your elder, I should properly visit her and thank her. Shinkai immediately lowered her head in disappointment and muttered softly, I thought Daddy had finally figured things out. Then she looked up again and said, Master Xiaobai likes interesting things the most. Last time I showed her a grasshopper toy I made, she was so happy. Hearing that, I quietly began thinking. Suddenly, a good idea appeared in my mind. Early the next morning, while I was taking Qingkai to visit her master, high above Yunzhou, an old man stood on a flying sword while holding a blood-red jade stone. He seemed to be sensing the location of something. A moment later, he changed direction and rapidly flew toward Wind Demon Valley. Meanwhile, Qingkai and I had already arrived at the cave entrance. Excitedly, she ran forward and shouted, "Master Xiaobai!" As soon as her voice echoed out, a graceful figure suddenly appeared in front of the cave. Even though this was only the second time I had seen her, I still couldn't help looking twice. But after those two glances, a strange feeling appeared in my heart. It felt as though I had seen her somewhere before. At the same time, the woman in white quietly looked at me and thought to herself, "This man has become even stronger again." The two of us simply stood there at the cave entrance, staring at each other. Then Qingkai happily ran between us and introduced us. "Daddy, this is my master Xiaobai." I cupped my hands politely and said, "I came here today specifically to thank you for teaching my daughter." As I spoke, I took out a wooden chessboard. "I made this little thing myself. It may be a bit crude, but I hope you won't dislike it." When I saw her carefully put the chessboard away, the worry in my heart finally eased. But then another thought suddenly surfaced. Could she have discovered that I secretly entered the cave before? Testing the waters, I cautiously said, "About what happened last time." I was quite rude. Before I could continue, she immediately replied, "No need to explain. Since you've already recognized me, let's just pretend that incident never happened." Her answer instantly made my heart skip a beat. So she really did discover that I secretly entered the cave. However, judging from her tone, she didn't seem interested in pursuing the matter. So I quickly followed along and said, "You're absolutely right. I truly had no bad intentions at the time." She nodded. Good. We both smiled at each other, completely unaware that we were talking about two entirely different things. After chatting for quite a while longer, I finally stood up and prepared to leave. Meanwhile, high in the sky, an old man named Wu Bo was recalling events from 6 years ago. Back then, the family head had ordered him to abandon the dying young lady inside the ancient Cave of Eternity. However, while passing through an unnamed valley in Qingzhou, the cold wind high in the sky brought Wu Bo back to reality. He looked ahead and muttered something to himself before continuing his journey. 2.5 hours later, he finally arrived at Wind Demon Valley. He had only taken a few steps when a sudden rustling sound came from a nearby bush. Wu Bo immediately gripped his sword and prepared for battle. A moment later, a huge gray bear suddenly jumped out of the bushes. But before Wu Bo could even react, the bear turned around and started running away as fast as it could. Wu Bo instantly flashed in front of it with a swoosh. The gray bear slammed on the brakes so hard that its nose almost touched the tip of his sword. Wu Bo stared at it and said coldly, "I'll ask one last time. Do you know someone named Chen Qingkai?" Just then, a calm voice suddenly came from behind him. "If I heard correctly, did you just say the name Chen Qingkai?" Wu Bo immediately turned around. Standing there was a young man with no visible cultivation at all. Wu Bo narrowed his eyes and asked, "Who are you?" I looked at him and replied, "You're standing on my land, chasing my bear, and shouting my daughter's name. Now you're asking who I am." The moment Wu Bo heard that, his eyes lit up. "Your daughter? Good. That makes things easier." Without another word, he swung his sword at me. But the sword shattered into pieces when it was still 3 inches away from my body. Wu Bo's face changed instantly. Before he could think any further, he immediately threw out a forbidden treasure powerful enough to kill a longevity realm cultivator. Yet all I did was snap my fingers. The treasure exploded into countless fragments in midair. Wu Bo staggered backward and shouted in disbelief, "That's impossible! Who exactly are you?" I calmly looked at him and said, "You still haven't answered my question." Realizing the situation was far beyond him, Wu Bo immediately cupped his hands respectfully. "I came under orders from the family head to find a member of the Hong family bloodline. The girl you raised is actually the eldest daughter of our Hong family, Hong Yue-chan." I shook my head. "Never heard of her. Qingkai is my daughter. She has nothing to do with your Hong family." Wu Bo's expression darkened. "You should think carefully before saying that." As he spoke, he took out a Crimson Command token. "This is a heaven-splitting order personally forged by the Hong family ancestor. Once activated, every expert of the Hong family will arrive immediately. Everything within 1,000 miles will be reduced to ashes." I pointed at the token and said, "Go ahead, activate it. Let's see if it's really that impressive." Wu Bo laughed angrily. "Fine. Since you're looking for death, don't blame me." He poured all of his true energy into the token and threw it into the sky. The token instantly became a streak of red light shooting toward the heavens. But before it could go very far, a giant black hand suddenly appeared above it. The hand closed into a fist and crushed the token instantly. Wu Bo stood frozen with his mouth hanging open. His jaw almost hit the ground. At that moment, he finally realized something terrifying. The young man standing in front of him was a Saint Venerable. Just as I was about to kill him, a cheerful voice suddenly came from behind me. "Daddy, I picked lots of mushrooms. Can we make mushroom soup tonight?" A little girl around 5 or 6 years old came running over, while carrying a basket full of mushrooms. Even after several years, Wu Bo recognized her instantly. Tears immediately filled his eyes. "Young miss, Shinkai ran over to my side and looked at him curiously. Daddy, who is this grandpa? Knowing he wouldn't survive today, Wubo decided to tell us everything he knew. He revealed the entire truth about Hong Yuchan and the Hong family. After finishing, he let out a long sigh as though a burden he had carried for years had finally been lifted. Shinkai kept her head lowered while listening quietly. After a long silence, she slowly looked up. Her eyes were red from holding back tears. That big sister named Hong Yuchan had such a sad life. Then she moved closer and tightly hugged my arm. Daddy is still the best. Only then did I realize she hadn't connected the story to herself. Wubo and I exchanged a glance and silently agreed not to expose the truth right there. A few moments later, Shinkai wiped her tears and softly said, Daddy, I'm going to see Master Xiaobai. I gently rubbed her head. Go ahead. Shinkai nodded and slowly walked away. Her small figure looked unusually lonely. After she disappeared, I turned toward Wu Bo. You should have died today, but because of the kindness you showed 6 years ago by giving her a chance to live, I'll spare you. You have 2 choices. First, I kill you right now. Second, I place a restriction on you and you stay in this valley to take care of Shinkai. Consider it paying for the sins of that scumbag father of hers. Wu Bo didn't hesitate for even a second. I choose to stay and take care of the young miss. I raised my hand and touched his forehead, planting a restriction inside him. That evening, Wu Bo noticed Shinkai standing alone in the courtyard looking depressed. He walked over and softly asked, What's wrong? Shinkai remained silent for a while before speaking. I actually figured it out. I'm Hong Yue-chan, aren't I? I pretended not to understand because I didn't want Daddy to think I'm not his real daughter. Wu Bo quickly comforted her. Young miss, don't think like that. This old servant can see clearly that your father truly cares about you. No matter whose daughter you were born as, you'll always be his child in his heart. Hearing those words instantly made Shinkai feel much better. Seeing her mood improve, Wu Bo quickly changed the subject. By the way, young miss, I still don't know your father's name. Shinkai immediately puffed out her chest proudly. My daddy's name is Chen Changgun. The moment Wu Bo heard that, his mouth opened wide again. His jaw nearly dropped to the floor for the 2nd time that day. The person who had adopted the young miss was actually the #1 saint venerable on the heaven monument, Chen Changgun. The next morning, I had barely stepped into the courtyard when the system's voice suddenly sounded in my head. Daily sign-in successful. Reward, 30 years of cultivation. Additional reward, Supreme Immortal Art Avatar Incarnation. My eyes immediately lit up with excitement. Without wasting any time, I created an avatar. After staying hidden in the mountains for so many years, I suddenly felt like taking a trip and seeing the world. At the same time, deep inside the cave, Ji Hongli's true body suddenly opened her eyes while resting on the ice bed. She slowly stood up and fell into thought. For 10,000 years, I haven't truly seen how the world has changed. With a casual wave of her hand through the air, a clone gradually appeared before her. Go explore the world for me. 2.5 days later, after traveling nearly 1,000 miles, my avatar arrived at a small inn. After enjoying a good meal, I reached toward my waist to pay the bill. Then I froze. I had been hiding in the mountains for so long that I had completely forgotten people needed money in this world. The waiter standing nearby immediately showed an awkward expression. Just then, a cold voice came from beside me. I'll pay for this, gentleman. I immediately looked toward the young man with gratitude. But before I could thank him, a mocking voice interrupted from nearby. Xiao Yu, you're already struggling to survive in the Zhao family, yet you're still pretending to be generous? The young master's eyes were full of ridicule. If Xiao Linger hadn't protected you all these years, I would have... One of his followers quickly interrupted him. Young Master Zhang, you shouldn't casually mention the eldest young lady. Zhang Xiaoye snorted. What's there to fear? That girl left 2 years ago. Everyone knows Xiao Yu is a joke now. 5 years ago, he was a genius at the peak of the Jade Mist realm. But at the City Lord's banquet last year, he couldn't even perform the most basic Jade Mist technique. Hearing that, I became interested immediately. A genius young master falling into disgrace and becoming the family's trash? I knew that storyline very well. Although this avatar only had cultivation at the middle stage of the Tongxuan realm, it was still far beyond these Jade Mist realm cultivators. So I looked directly at Zhang Xiaoye and said loudly, the way you enjoy mocking other people is disgusting. Zhang Xiaoye's face instantly turned cold. Without hesitation, he threw an attack spell directly at me. But in the next second, I vanished from my original position with a swoosh. The young master glared at me and shouted, Who are you? Why are you helping that loser? I shook my head and replied, No, no, no. First of all, this little brother paid for my meal. Second, stop calling people losers all the time. Haven't you ever heard the saying, 30 years on the east bank of the river, 30 years on the West Bank, never bully a poor young man? After saying that, I was just about to teach him a lesson when a black-robed manager suddenly appeared between us. Stop, he shouted. Zhang family, Xiao family, Have you both forgotten the city lord's rules? The tense atmosphere instantly eased. Young Master Zhang glared viciously at Xiao Yu and sneered, I heard your fiancée is already on her way here to break off the engagement. Let's see how much longer you can keep acting tough. After saying that, he left with his followers. Once they were gone, Xiao Yu and I walked outside the inn together. Before leaving, he respectfully bowed to me and said, Never bully a poor young man. I'll remember those words, sir. Then he turned around and walked away alone. As I watched his back disappear into the distance, my eyes landed on the plain-looking bronze ring on his finger. An idea instantly popped into my head. If I could recruit a future protagonist while he was still young and struggling, wouldn't my retirement be completely secure in the future? With that thought, I immediately cast an invisibility spell and followed him. As the evening sky darkened, Xiao Yu lowered his head and stared at the bronze ring on his finger. Master Yao, that gentleman didn't seem like a bad person. A strand of white mist suddenly floated out of the ring and quickly formed into the figure of an old man's soul. Whether he's good or bad is hard to say, Master Yao replied, but he's extremely mysterious, especially when we left the inn. His eyes clearly paused on the bronze ring where I'm hiding. There's a chance he already discovered my existence. Xiao Yu looked shocked. But didn't you say that nobody below the longevity realm could detect you? Master Yao nodded seriously. That's exactly why I'm worried. This person's depth is unfathomable. Even I can't see through his true cultivation. Xiao Yu fell silent. Suddenly, Master Yao's expression changed. Someone's coming. His body immediately turned back into mist and disappeared into the ring. A few moments later, an old servant appeared. Young master, the family head has summoned you to the meeting hall. Soon, Xiao Yu arrived at the Xiao family's discussion hall. The moment he stepped inside, a cold female voice echoed through the room. So this is my fiancé? The entire hall instantly became silent. Xiao Yu calmly cupped his hands and said, Miss Lin, it's been a long time. Before she could respond, a young man in white stepped forward. My name is Bai Mufeng, true disciple of the Tianyun sect, and ranked 87th on the Human Monument. Junior sister Qing Yue has already passed the intersect examination of the Tianyun sect. We came here today to cancel this marriage agreement. At that moment, Xiao Yu's grandfather stepped forward. The pressure of a peak origin realm expert instantly filled the hall. Young Master Bai, this engagement was personally arranged by the head of the Lin family years ago. If it is to be cancelled, then the Lin family head should come himself. Bai Mufeng smiled proudly. I am the personal disciple of the current Tianyun sect master. Behind me stands one of the strongest sects in Qingzhou. Are you saying my status is lower than that of a second-rate family head? The expressions of the Xiao family members immediately turned ugly. Then Xiao Yu's grandfather looked at him and asked, What do you think? If you refuse this engagement cancellation, our Xiao family will fight them to the bitter end. Hearing that, Xiao Yu secretly sneered inside. He knew exactly what kind of person his grandfather was. The old fox was clearly trying to shift the blame for offending Tianyun sect onto him. Since they wanted to play that game, he decided to dig an even bigger hole for them. Looking directly at Bai Mufeng, Xiao Yu loudly declared, I agree to the engagement cancellation, but I have one condition. Everyone turned to look at him. 10 years from now, I will personally visit Tianyun sect and challenge Miss Lin. If I win, I want the phoenix golden hairpin on her head as my prize. The moment he finished speaking, Bai Mufeng activated his true energy. A flying sword instantly appeared before him. If we're going to gamble, let's make it interesting. This sword, Bright Moon Thousand Autumns, was gifted to me by my master after I climbed Cloud Spirit Peak. It's a top-grade flying sword. 10 years from now, if you win, the sword is yours. But if you lose, I want the Xiao family's Xuantian Cauldron. The Xiao family members instantly changed color. The Xuantian Cauldron was the foundation of their family. But before anyone could stop him, Xiao Yu bit his finger. His blood transformed into a red light and shot into the sky. Deal. After the Tianyun sect group left, Xiao Yu's grandfather immediately exploded with rage. You foolish brat! Who gave you permission to use the Xiao family's treasure as a wager? Xiao Yu calmly replied, Grandfather, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Then he turned around and left. Returning to his small and run-down courtyard, Xiao Yu heard Master Yao's voice coming from the ring. Well done, kid. You just tied the entire Xiao family to your chariot. Xiao Yu revealed a carefree smile. So what? I have nothing left to lose anyway. If I win, it's a huge profit. If I lose nothing. Suddenly, a chuckle came from behind him. Xiao Yu instantly spun around and saw me standing there with my arms crossed. On the surface, I looked calm and mysterious. Inside, however, I was laughing like crazy. This was perfect. A broken engagement, a mysterious old grandpa living in a ring, and a fallen genius seeking revenge. Every protagonist buff was stacked on this kid already. Xiao Yu cautiously stepped backward while secretly holding 3 poisoned silver needles between his fingers. I smiled and said, "Relax." Then I took out a jade bottle and tossed it toward him. "Take this first. It will help your injuries." The jade bottle drew a graceful arc through the air before landing in Xiao Yu's hands. The moment he opened it, Master Yao's shocked voice trembled from inside the ring. This is a 9 revolutions soul restoration pill. It can regrow flesh and revive dying people. Even when I was at my peak, my success rate in refining this pill wasn't even 30%. Xiao Yu was stunned. Such a precious gift. I can't accept it for nothing. Seeing his reaction, I deliberately put on a mysterious expression. "Xiao Yu, are you willing to become my disciple?" Master Yao immediately warned him. "This man's identity is unknown. Be careful. It could be a trap." But this time, Xiao Yu ignored the warning. After all, I was the one who had reignited the fire that was almost extinguished inside his heart. Without hesitation, he knelt down. "I am willing. Master, please accept this disciple's vow." I raised my hand to stop him. "Not so fast. First, you must pass a test. 1,000 miles east of here lies an unnamed valley. I will wait for you there. If you can reach it within 3 days, I will officially accept you as my disciple." As soon as I finished speaking, my body transformed into countless points of light and disappeared. Xiao Yu's eyes widened. "An avatar incarnation. That's a legendary supreme immortal technique. This master definitely has an extraordinary background." He clenched his fists tightly. "No matter what, I must pass this test." That very night, he secretly escaped from the city. Back in the Xiao family, news of his disappearance quickly reached Xiao Yu's grandfather. Xiao Yunshan crushed the teacup in his hand with anger. "A bunch of useless fools. 3 shadow guards couldn't keep watch over a cripple with damaged meridians?" The head steward knelt on the floor, trembling in fear. Then Xiao Yunshan coldly ordered, "Send out the hidden guards immediately." The man in black raised his sword and pointed it at Xiao Yu. "The family head has given his order. Dead or alive, we are bringing you back." The moment he finished speaking, a flying sword shot toward Xiao Yu like a bolt of lightning. Seeing the attack coming, Xiao Yu quickly dodged to the side while throwing a medicine bottle into the air. The bottle collided with the flying sword and exploded instantly, releasing a cloud of green poison everywhere. Afraid that the poison might be deadly, the shadow guards immediately scattered in all directions. Xiao Yu used that brief opening to dive into a nearby river. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from their sight. By the morning of the 3rd day, after suffering countless hardships, Xiao Yu finally arrived at a towering cliff. At this point, he was completely exhausted. The wounds covering his body were getting worse with every step. If Master Yao hadn't been protecting him with his remaining spiritual energy during the journey, the situation would have been far more dangerous. The valley was finally within sight. Just then, Master Yao's weak voice sounded from the ring. "Kid, the energy I stored over the past 10 years has been completely exhausted. From here on, you're on your own." Xiao Yu gritted his teeth and prepared to continue down the mountain. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from nearby. Then someone shouted, "Catch him! Don't let him enter the valley!" An attack shot through the air. A sharp pain exploded in Xiao Yu's back. Despair flashed across his face as he leaped off the cliff without hesitation. The wind howled around him. Master Yao used the very last of his strength to create a cloud of black mist that slowed Xiao Yu's fall. Splash! Xiao Yu crashed into a field of flowers. Is this the end? Through his blurry vision, he saw the figure of a little girl approaching him. "Big brother, are you hurt?" Xiao Yu tried to answer, but before he could say a single word, everything went dark and he lost consciousness. At the entrance of the valley, the shadow guards were preparing to jump down after him when they suddenly froze. Standing beside the unconscious Xiao Yu were an old man and a little girl. More importantly, the old man was releasing a terrifying pressure that completely overwhelmed them. "Leave immediately," the old man ordered. The shadow guards didn't dare hesitate. They turned around and ran for their lives. Later, inside a room, Xiao Yu slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was a cute little face staring right at him. "Big brother, you're awake," Xingkai said happily. The moment Xiao Yu noticed me standing nearby, he forced himself out of bed and knelt on the ground despite his injuries. "Master, please accept this disciple's vow." Looking at this newly acquired disciple, I felt quite satisfied. Then my gaze shifted toward the bronze ring on his finger. As I looked at the sleeping soul inside the ring, an idea suddenly appeared in my mind. I raised my hand. Before Xiao Yu could even react, the bronze ring flew into the air. Master Yao isn't a bad person," Xiao Yu shouted nervously. "I know," I replied calmly. Then I began circulating my true energy. In the empty air, I slowly outlined the shape of a human body. At the same time, I carefully guided Master Yao's soul toward it. Countless points of light gathered together. Little by little, the body of an elderly man wearing long robes became solid. Master Yao suddenly opened his eyes and stared at his own hands in disbelief. Creating a body out of thin air, is this the power of a saint? He immediately bowed deeply. "Thank you, Saint Venerable, for giving me a second life. Looking at the shocked expressions on both Master Yao and Xiao Yu, I secretly felt pleased. As expected, this was still the beginner stage of the protagonist's journey. A small display of power was enough to leave them speechless. Then I handed Xiao Yu a small porcelain bottle. This is a life creation pill. Your meridians are badly damaged. Take it and get some rest. After saying that, I left the room together with Shinkai. Several days passed. After taking the life creation pill, Xiao Yu's strength increased dramatically. He spent every day cultivating the 9 Heavens Thunder manual that I had taught him. One afternoon after lunch, I was lying comfortably in a rocking chair enjoying a nap when the system suddenly spoke. Ding, system update complete. Host has successfully accepted a disciple. Pet training function unlocked. The system interface instantly changed and a new icon appeared. Curious, I opened it and carefully read through the details. A few moments later, I was completely stunned. This so-called pet training function could actually treat my disciples as pets. More importantly, once a disciple reached certain growth milestones, the rewards given by the system would be enough to double my strength instantly. My eyes widened with excitement. If that's the case, then wouldn't I become invincible if I just keep accepting disciples? The moment that thought appeared, I immediately created another avatar. Meanwhile, inside the Xiao family meeting hall, a shadow guard knelt on the ground. Family head, please forgive us. The old man guarding the valley was at least half a step into the longevity realm. We truly couldn't do anything. Xiao Yuanshan slammed the table and roared, "Nonsense! What longevity realm expert would lower himself to guard a valley? You're clearly making excuses." Just then, hurried footsteps echoed from outside. "Where's brother Xiao Yu?" A young girl around 16 or 17 years old rushed into the hall. It was Xiao Linger. Xiao Yuanshan frowned. "Linger, why have you suddenly returned?" Xiao Linger quickly looked around the room. "Grandfather, where is brother Xiao Yu?" The atmosphere instantly became awkward. She noticed the shadow guard kneeling on the floor and then looked at the gloomy expression on Xiao Yuanshan's face. A terrible feeling rose inside her heart. Xiao Linger suddenly turned around and grabbed a familiar maid by the shoulders. "Cuillere, tell me what happened." The maid lowered her head and replied in a trembling voice, "Miss, young Master Xiao Yu, he was forced by the people of Tianyun sect to cancel his engagement." Xiao Linger carefully took a beautifully crafted wooden box from her robes and held it tightly in her hands. Inside was a life creation pill. "Grandfather said this pill can rebuild damaged meridians and heal any hidden injuries," she whispered softly. Looking toward the horizon, her eyes gradually turned red. "Brother Xiao Yu, you have to wait for me." 2 years ago, she had tried every possible method to help Xiao Yu recover his cultivation, but nothing worked. In the end, she left home and traveled all the way to the southern wasteland to seek help from her grandfather. Yet now that she had finally returned, everything had changed. At that moment, a thin old man suddenly appeared beside her. "Miss, this old servant has already investigated young Master Xiao Yu's whereabouts. He headed east. According to the information I gathered, he has accepted a mysterious expert as his master." Xiao Linger immediately looked toward the sky with determination burning in her eyes. "Brother Xiao Yu, Linger is coming to find you." Meanwhile, after leaving the valley, my avatar continued traveling north. Every time I passed through a small city, I searched for potential new children of destiny. Unfortunately, trying to find one was like searching for a needle in the ocean. In the end, I could only leave it to fate. One day, I arrived at the eastern market street of Qingyang City. I casually set up a simple wooden table and started pretending to be a fortune teller. The entire day passed quietly. Not a single person met the requirements to become my disciple. Just as I was feeling disappointed and preparing to pack up, a figure suddenly stopped in front of my table. "Sir, can you help me read a character?" Looking up, I saw a young man around 15 years old. For some reason, my heart skipped a beat the moment I saw him. "What character would you like me to read?" The boy picked up a brush and wrote the character Han on the paper. At that exact moment, the system displayed his status panel inside my mind. His destiny value was 100, a perfect score. Even Xiao Yu, my first disciple, only had a destiny value of 85. My brain immediately started working at full speed. After thinking for a moment, I finally began my fortune telling. This character starts strongly, but the ending stroke ends too suddenly. That suggests you may face difficulties in the near future. Hanyu's expression instantly changed. Almost unconsciously, she touched the jade gourd hidden inside her clothes. My eyes immediately caught that tiny movement. It seemed this child of destiny had already obtained her own opportunity. I continued calmly, but there's no need to worry. The structure of this character is tight at the top and loose at the bottom. It represents hardship before success. Your fate indicates that a benefactor will appear and help you overcome this disaster. Once you survive this trial, your future will be limitless. Hearing those words, Hanyu finally relaxed. "Thank you for your guidance, sir." She lowered her head and reached into her pocket. "How much do I owe you?" But when she looked up again, I was already gone. Hidden inside a dark corner where nobody could see me, I quietly observed her while thinking. A child of destiny like this couldn't simply be forced into becoming a disciple. That would only create resentment. If I wanted to become her master, I first needed to become the benefactor written in her destiny. As Hanyu slowly walked away, still shocked by my words, I silently followed behind her using an invisibility spell. At the same time, inside the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, a bell rang with a thunderous boom that shook the entire building. An elderly man with a complicated expression summoned a middle-aged cultivator. The immortal artifact ranking has been updated. The item ranked 10th, the heaven-controlling jade gourd, has appeared. As he spoke, he tossed a yellow paper to the middle-aged man. This contains the approximate location where the artifact appeared. Go investigate. Remember, if the artifact is in the hands of a major sect, a powerful family, or the Great Zhou royal family, do not interfere. The middle-aged man hesitated before asking, what if it ended up in the hands of a wandering cultivator? The old man narrowed his eyes. If it's a wandering cultivator, then decide for yourself. Treasures belong to those strong enough to keep them. The middle-aged man cupped his fists and left. The old man remained behind, muttering to himself. Just days ago, a Saint Venerable surnamed Chen suddenly appeared on the heaven ranking. Now an immortal artifact has surfaced as well. And on top of that, the major sects and noble families are secretly preparing for that enormous event. It seems the world is about to fall into chaos. Meanwhile, inside the medicine garden of the Eight Fragrant sect, Han Yu was staring at the jade gourd in her hands while trembling. What exactly is this thing? Originally, she had simply wanted to make her lonely little courtyard feel more lively, so she poured a drop of spiritual liquid onto a small seedling. But the tiny plant that originally had only 2 leaves suddenly began shaking violently. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a 7-leaf spirit ginseng. Han Yu's face turned pale. Nobody can ever find out about this. She immediately hid the jade gourd inside a secret pocket beneath her clothing. Then she began thinking about her current situation. What exactly is Elder Mo planning? Every time she cultivated recently, Elder Mo would secretly observe her from the shadows. His eyes carried a strange excitement that sent chills down her spine. I can't keep cultivating like this. She could already feel signs of an upcoming breakthrough. Normally that should have been wonderful news, but now it felt more like a trap. She couldn't shake the feeling that the moment she broke through, something terrible would happen. Suddenly she remembered the words of the fortune teller she had met in Qingyang City. A benefactor, she whispered helplessly. Where are you? A knife is already at my neck. What she didn't know was that her so-called benefactor was currently standing on the rooftop above her room. Looking at Han Yu as she gradually fell asleep, I smiled slightly, as expected of a child of destiny. She had already noticed that Elder Mo was hiding something. But if the protagonist solved all the problems alone, how was I supposed to recruit another disciple? The night breeze gently blew across the courtyard. In the next moment, I silently appeared beside Han Yu's bed. Looking at the sleeping girl, I revealed a slightly apologetic smile. Then I lightly touched her forehead with one finger. A stream of true energy quietly entered her energy sea, helping her complete the final stage of her breakthrough while she slept. After that, I disappeared once again, leaving only her gentle breathing behind.